Sounds easy.
It is, and it makes us so much more than just a list. Get started at Angie.com. That's ANGI, or download the app today.
The Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and online at WGNSradio.com. This is the Roundtable. A look at the news, views, politics, and people that are shaping Rutherford County.
Good morning. This is Bill Krause on a beautiful Thursday morning. You can tell there's a touch of fall, but I think we still have a little bit of summer left to go, especially around Labor Day. We are very delighted, both personally and professionally, to have with us a dear friend, a colleague, a gentleman who certainly had leadership records in the city of Murfreesboro as a member of the city council. He's been off a year now, which is how time flies. Welcome, Ronnie Martin, Pinnacle Bank.
Thank you, Dr. Krause. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. Ronnie, tell everybody about your background. I'm sure everybody in Murfreesboro and Rutherford County knows Ronnie Martin, but there may be a few newcomers that sneaked in. You were born where, schooled where, and been with Pinnacle how long?
Yeah, thank you. So I grew up in Rutherford County, spent most of my early childhood in Smyrna through elementary school, and then came in junior high school to Murfreesboro.
That's where you got the slogan, Smiling in Smyrna?
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. But still have great friends there and love that city. I saw Mary Esther Reed yesterday at a function at MTSU, of course, is the mayor of Smyrna, and she's a local girl, obviously grew up there. And anyway, so came to Murfreesboro halfway through what would have been sort of middle school, went to Riverdale, stayed and went to MTSU and got an undergraduate degree in economics and then an MBA. And then really decided that I wanted to be in the financial service business, which of course at that time was being a banker. And so that's what I started doing. And
what year was this? Because the economy was going up and down.
You know, it's great. We'll talk about some of this, I'm sure. But I graduated from MTSU in 97 the first time, and then in 2001. And so I would have started banking probably 98 or 99 as a teller. Okay. So
you started out as a teller.
I did. It's one of the best jobs in the bank. People don't realize that, but there's something very nice about coming in and you start at zero and you leave and you start at zero. So you're kind of in control of balancing that drawer. And in most cases, people are happy to come to the bank to make deposits, at least on the teller side. And so it's
better
great.
than making payments.
It is. And so most of the challenging things you get, not always, but most of the challenging things you get come to the desk side where you've got customer service reps that are opening accounts and dealing with problems. And, you know, the tellers will do some of that also, but usually they get the opportunity to kind of be the first face you see, and it's usually a smiling face, hopefully, if they're happy at their job. And anyway, so I've worked at several local banks in town, currently work at Pinnacle Financial Partners.
You've been with Pinnacle how long?
3 years.
Wow.
Was fortunate enough to bring a team from First Bank over to Pinnacle 3 years ago, and, have lots of positive things to say about people that I've worked with over my career and institutions that I've worked for, but there's just not been a better place to work than Pinnacle Bank.
And as a client, I can certainly agree with you. You know, back to the teller role, prior to technology where Social Security checks were automatically deposited, probably was a social opportunity for many seniors that they had received a green check on each day of each month, and bringing the check in, they would come to the window, and suddenly the teller had to be the full recipient of conversation about the aches and pains, the dog is doing fine, the trees are blooming, and so you were basically an outreach to a senior citizen.
Well, and you're talking about having a relationship with the people that you serve, right? And so that is such a part of the culture of our financial company and our firm. And as I said earlier, the tellers are the front line of that. They have that opportunity to greet people and smile, and that's still very much alive and well today. And, as banking has changed, which it had to change as the complexities of financial service changed, you no longer have paper checks for everything that comes in. And, fraud has become very sophisticated. And so knowing your clients is, more important than ever because we're beyond the days, especially in Murfreesboro, where every single person that you bump into. And so it takes, more advanced training, it takes more advanced systems, and there's some pressure that you lose a little bit of the personal touch because you're dealing sometimes with people that you do not know. So you've got to protect the bank, and banks are owned by shareholders, generally speaking, and you have to protect the shareholders by making sure we don't incur losses and we make good decisions. And so it's a real balancing act to try to make sure that you're operating in a safe and sound way, but at the same time not losing that personal touch that people come to love and associate with banks. And I think Pinnacle does a great job of that.
Well, I, for one, and I don't know how many folks out there would agree with me, I, for one, will take the extra time to get out of my car and walk into the bank and actually be with the teller at the window rather than drive in and somewhat be informal, put it through the tube and whoop, there it goes, and here it comes back. And I like the personal touch. And I will say this, and I have said this to you before, I've said this to a number of people of the banks that I've dealt with. I don't know how human resources selects people to work for Pinnacle, but every man and woman that I deal with, whether it's in Murfreesboro or in Cool Springs or in Green Hills, the Pinnacle men and women are just second to none, exceptional.
I appreciate you saying that, because we take a lot of pride in that, and it's very much a top-down approach. As Terry Turner and Rob McCabe set the vision for how we want to operate as a company and the values that we put in place, and they very much will tell you that we want, it's a little bit like, Southwest's model, that you invest in your people and you take care of your people. And if you treat them well, what you're doing is setting up for a really good client experience, so that when people come in the bank, because people enjoy what they're doing, the thinking is that they're going to, do it well. They're going to be happy doing it. And so that's very much woven into the Pinnacle culture, and it's very much alive and well in Murfreesboro. My local market leader, Bill Jones, and my direct boss, Ron Carter, I don't know that I've ever met genuinely people that are in a leadership capacity somewhere that care more about the people than the people that I work with.
And I go one step further. I'm a great one for changing nomenclature because I wanted to make a special point. For example, I never call myself a landlord. I call myself a home provider.
I remember this, yeah.
Never call a tenant, but they're a resident.
Right.
And for Pinnacle Bank, I would not even call those of us clients. I would call those of us friends.
Yeah.
I think you have a lot of friends who happen to come into the bank or computerize the bank or meet the bank in a drive-in window, but it's a friendly relationship. Even as we grow in Murfreesboro, as we grow in Rutherford County, it's still a hometown feeling.
Yeah, I appreciate that too, because, I tell people all the time, there are no, in my opinion, there are no good banks and bad banks. It's what's important is to understand where you bank and what the priorities of that bank are and how they service clients, and really, what their primary business is. And so Pinnacle is very much relationship based with what we do. And so that comparison that you make about friends and not clients, it's that deep relationship where what we hope is to be able to give an extraordinary level of advice and to really be partners with our clients, friends, so that it's not a transaction, it's not a impersonal sort of relationship. It is a relationship where you say, hey, I value what my banker, thinks or might suggest or might have to offer in this particular instance. And so I don't want to make a decision without talking to them. And I say this all the time with the clients that I serve. I'm never going to presume that I'm in charge of the decisions that you make in your business. Those are your decisions to make. But there's a great opportunity for me to share something about the financial services world, about Pinnacle Bank, about how you're trying to get to where you want to go. And if you'll trust me enough and give me enough opportunities to help serve you in those things, I think what you'll find is it's not me telling you how to run your business. It's me being an advisor, which is what we want to do at Pinnacle Bank, to really help be effective in helping people grow their business, manage their wealth, and it's just a cultural priority that we have.
I always use the expression, manage your wealth and you'll be in better health.
Yeah, no kidding.
Easily. Yeah. Now, you've been with Pinnacle 3 years. You've been on a roller coaster like anybody in the financial and economic area in terms of interest rates, in terms of CD rates, in terms of loan availability. Talk about the overall financial world of Rutherford County just in the past year, if you think of what has happened.
Yeah, so it's, you hopefully, and you subscribe to this, I know personally because of all that you've accomplished and the conversations that we have, but you hope to never be in a field where you can't continually keep learning, where you keep growing professionally. And that is such a part of who I am, ingrained in me, and it's been a part of who I am my whole life. But the past 2 years has been really interesting, specifically the past year because of the interest rate rise. And so, for listeners out there that might not have, a graduate degree in banking, so to speak, banking is pretty simple in general terms. We take deposits in, which are liabilities because those belong to someone else. We lend those dollars out in the form of loans, which are assets to the bank, which is how we make income. And so we're managing a spread. And so there's competing interest related to what we pay for deposits and what we charge on loans. And I tell people I'm very upfront and honest because I don't know any other way to be, and it feels right. Our whole business model is to pay the most competitive rate we can pay, which in the banking business means lower rate on deposit money. But it has to be competitive enough that we don't lose clients because then you don't have a bank, right? So you got to be competitive. But if we overpay and our goal was to be the highest provider of interest in the market, well, that wouldn't be good for our business. And so, we want to be competitive. We want to make sure that our clients feel special, that they feel like that they're being taken care of, and all the other things that we talked about before that matter. But you got to be competitive with what you're paying on rates. On the other side, you have to be competitive with what you're charging on loans. I can't charge 12% if somebody else is charging 8%. They're going to look at me like I'm crazy. And so I have to be able to explain that. I have to be able to talk about the differences between why some rates are what they are and other rates are what they are. And most people, I think, understand when you give them a little education in that it's a very simple model. You pay for deposits and you charge for loans, and the bank makes money on the spread. Well, to the point you're making, in the past year, the prime rate is currently 8.5%.
Wow. What was it a year ago?
I'm going to guess
0.01.
Well, probably the prime rate specifically was probably 5.5 if I had to guess.
Yes, so it's 3% at least.
Yeah, but Fed funds, which is probably what you're referring to, Fed funds is 5.50 now. It was probably 1% at the beginning of the year, and certainly it was 1% last year. I'd have to look back at that data to be right, but the point is they have moved substantially. Well, what does that mean? It affects every sort of borrowing, whether it's mortgage lending, whether it's credit card rates, whether it's automobile loans, construction loans. It affects every aspect of what we do. And so most people would be shocked to say, hey, I'm buying, and this could dovetail into all kinds of things, but they would be shocked to say, hey, I'm going to get a mortgage. And we'd say, great, it's 7% is what your mortgage rate's going to be. Well, to someone like you who has seen enough in your lifetime to know mortgage rates have been as high as 20%.
1980.
Okay.
79, 80.
All right. So in most of my life, I've seen probably the highest mortgage rate I've seen is 6.5%, right?
Which was standard for so many years.
That's exactly right. And so
VA loans, standard.
you spend a lot of time communicating, educating clients, friends to say, hey, look, everything's not going to be 2.9% for the rest of your life. That was a specific point in time post the Great Recession that we had that allowed us to dig out of those problems. And we're probably in a season where rates are going to be high for at least the short term. I don't know. No one knows exactly. But I would tell you for the remainder of 23 and for probably most of 2024, if you can get a sub 7% mortgage, you're going to be in pretty good shape. I highly doubt you're going to get a mortgage loan for less than 6% before the end of 2024.
But the interesting thing, Ronnie, is this, and this is why I urge people, as I say, you don't need a graduate degree in economics. You just need a good pencil, a yellow pad to figure this out. With the rates going up, it has affected real estate prices that they have gone down.
That's right.
What you do, and I've been so grateful to you in Pinnacle, at any time we're looking at a piece of property, you calculate out what the payment will be, what the impound will be for taxes and insurance, etc. And if you take a look, and I tried this just as an experiment here recently, actually, when I knew you were going to come on, and I took a look at a price of a piece of real estate in Rutherford County a year ago, and this was a hot, hot, hot market. You decided to buy a piece of property. There were 10 people in line waiting to make an offer. So you looked at what the prices were on, let's say, a condominium, a single-family resident, and then you took the interest rate and you saw what your monthly payment would be. Go to August 2023. Take a look at that same property, evaluate the price, see how it's reduced in price, then plug in the interest rate, and you'll find the payment to be just about the same.
Yeah.
So, you have to calculate both ends of the scale on this in order to come out with the bottom line. What it does do, if you have a lower price you're buying the property for, your 20% down payment is going to be less than it was a year ago.
That's right.
So you're going to have less cash to have to go in. Your monthly payment will be the same. Your tax deduction on the interest will be higher because your interest rate is deductible. So you have to calculate both the positives and the negatives. Now go back to your CD rate. And I, for one, get very upset when I see only partial news reported. And you can certainly talk about, the interest rates is really going to hit the economy. Do you know who's really prospered? There's a senior citizen who had $100,000 and they were getting a measly 0.9% on the CD.
That's a great point.
And now you're giving them between 4.5%, 5%. Do you know what that does to the income to a senior citizen? Millions of senior citizens who have their little nest egg put away, the interest rate has been a boon. It's been far more than a rise in Social Security payments.
Yeah, it's such a great point. So, those that are on fixed income that have built some wealth and accumulated some assets and have gotten really minimal return on what you would view as a safe FDIC protected investment where your principal is not at risk, like a bank CD, they're being rewarded handsomely, for the rate environment that we're in. And so what that's allowed them to do is, without taking market risk by being in the stock market or in real estate, for example, they're able to hopefully live a better quality life, or at least certainly have more safety and security because of the limited income that they have because they're not working. A lot of those folks have they've earned what they're going to earn, and if they're fortunate to have Social Security, that's great. But beyond that, as you well know, you're living off the return that your investments provide you, which is scary.
And your process is, if somebody wants to invest in a CD and they want to get a monthly income just to keep their budget going, you have that option.
That's right.
Many, many different options. Are you optimistic about the future in Rutherford County?
Yeah, I was talking... I deal with a lot of, I have the opportunity to work with a lot of small business owners, and it's amazing to me, despite the economic headwinds that we're kind of headed into and the overall concern and uncertainty that people have about the economy, how many positive things are still happening. And I would say that Middle Tennessee, just for so long, has been so incredibly blessed from the standpoint of, being, I think, relatively pro-business. There are growing pains that come with that. You mentioned being on the city council. I got a great education. I certainly learned more being on the council than I was able to, enlighten anyone per se. It did more for me from a standpoint of helping me be a better citizen and learn more about, some of the challenges that our leaders face. But the truth is, we've got a very pro-business, I think, leadership, not just in Rutherford County, but in Middle Tennessee. But there's a cost to that, and what happens is, where the gears grind sometimes, is people say, well, I want these things. I want growth. I want commercial development. I want options, restaurant, grocery store, retailers. I want those things, but the traffic is insane. And so, sometimes, it's human nature. We want our cake and, want to eat it too, sort of deal. But if you're trying to be a community where you attract growth and development, where tax dollars are coming in that are offsetting property taxes. I mean, Murfreesboro, Rutherford County is still a very friendly property tax state, community, county. And so I think all of that has to be taken into consideration and into context from the standpoint that, despite where we are in the economy, we're still growing. The community's still doing well. Are there growing pains associated with that? Yeah, there are. And if you drive, down Medical Center Parkway from 8 to 9 in the morning, it's a nightmare. And if you do it at lunchtime, it's a nightmare. And if you do it from 4 to 5, it's a nightmare. But from 10 to 11, it's not so bad. And in those soft spots, it's not bad. So I'm very optimistic that with that pro-business mentality, both from city leaders and county leaders and state leaders, I had the opportunity to listen to one of the mayoral candidates speak in Nashville, and they were talking about Davidson County debt versus the state of Tennessee debt. I bring that up not to get into the mayoral race, but to talk about how fiscally responsible I think our state has been overall from a low debt, heavy cash position. And I think leaders know that to attract businesses and to, keep an overall healthy, thriving community, it has to be growing. If it's not growing, it's going to fall on the backs of the people that are living there, and that's going to come in the form of increased property tax rates, as you well know, which nobody wants to pay.
We're visiting with Ronnie Martin from Pinnacle Bank and a former member of the City Council in Murfreesboro. A delightful visit, and we've got much more coming forth. We'll be right back.
Learn to make money 5 ways with rental real estate. Double your money with apartments and get your map to financial freedom. And that map starts with a free workshop. Sign up now at lifestylesunlimited.com. Click on the Join Free Workshop tab and attend online or in person. That's lifestylesunlimited.com. Lifestylesunlimited.com. Again, that's lifestylesunlimited.com. Limited seating, unlimited potential.
There's a lot of people out there talking about testosterone. You hear about treatment centers everywhere. But do your homework and go to a provider that you can trust, one that's been doing it for years. I recommend Low T Center on Medical Center Parkway in Murfreesboro. That's where I get my levels checked. At Low T Center, they make it quick and easy. Walk in, take a simple blood test, and then with their on-site lab, you get the results in 25 minutes. If you've been feeling tired, grumpy, weight gain, or loss of muscle mass, these could all be signs of low testosterone levels. Low T Center is not like a typical doctor's office where you have to wait a long time to see the doctor. Low T Center is concierge medicine exclusively for men. They have affordable and convenient options, including physician-monitored self-inject treatments that ship directly to your home each month. No need to drive to the center for weekly visits. Right now at Low T Center, it's only $25 to get your testosterone level tested. So what are you waiting for? Go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment online. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
This is Good Neighbor Events with Bart Walker. Brought to you by the law offices of John Day and AmeriCare Pest Control.
This is a paid legal ad.
Hi, this is John Day of the law offices of John Day. I've lived and worked as a lawyer in Middle Tennessee for over 30 years, and to me, every single day has been an honor. That's why our firm is so involved with community programs like bicycle helmet giveaways and our Safe Ride Home program. At the law offices of John Day, we're not just looking to make donations. We want to make a difference in the community we hold so dear. And if you're ever injured, know that we are here for you too.
Checking on those WGNS Good Neighbor events. At the St. Clair Street Senior Center, there's a free Parkinson support group, 10 o'clock on the first and third Friday of each month. Also at the St. Clair Senior Center, a grief support group meets every Wednesday morning at 10. That's every Wednesday. The St. Clair Street Senior Center is at 325 St. Clair Street. Not this weekend, but the next one, Saturday, August 26th. It's the Milton Power of the Past Antique Tractor and Farm Show. That's Saturday, August 26th in Milton. That same date, Middle Tennessee Electric's annual virtual meeting, Saturday, August 26th at 2 in the afternoon. Even though it's virtual, if you're going to vote, You need to sign up in advance. Plus, that same weekend, Saturday, August 26th at 7 o'clock in the evening, another one of those hallowed ground lantern tours at the Stones River Battlefield. It's free, but spaces are limited, so you need to sign up in advance. And those are WGNS Good Neighbor events.
Good neighbor weather.
We'll see mostly sunny skies here for this afternoon with a high in the mid-80s. Southwest winds around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, partly cloudy, low near 66. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS. Currently, it's 64.
Broadcasting from the Middle Tennessee Electric Studios, MTE Sharing Change is funded by members who round up their electric bills to the nearest dollar each month as a donation and support hundreds of local nonprofits. Find out more at sharingchange.org.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at WGNSradio.com.
Bill Krause returning on the round table, and we're having a delightful visit with a dear friend, a colleague, and a gentleman who has made some real impact and currently makes some real impact on the community of Murfreesboro and Rutherford County, Ronnie Martin from Pinnacle Bank. Before we go into a totally different topic, carrying on what you said right before the break about how growth and business emphasis and prioritizing has been a key foundation here in Rutherford County and Murfreesboro. One of the interesting points was when Murfreesboro was a small town and Smyrna was even a smaller town, people had no problem driving into downtown Nashville to do their shopping and to go to their restaurants and go to their favorite places and work, etc. And as traffic has become, in some respects, a nightmare on I-24 over the years, Murfreesboro's growth has allowed people to have new options. New options of shopping, new options of medical care, new options of restaurant and recreation, etc. So we just somewhat change and transfer. It's almost a fact of habit. You mentioned going on Medical Center and the traffic around lunchtime. So you change your lunch. You may have a later lunch or an earlier lunch just to accommodate. That's life. Now let's get into a new chapter. I want you to talk about Ronnie Martin and his life in the last 90 days.
Yeah, okay. So for those that do not know, and these are just one of the unfortunate things that happen in life, I went through a divorce last year, and so that's never easy on anyone, but you always look for the silver lining in those things. And I had the opportunity to run into a prior love. Her name was Brooke Hibden, and she's here with us. You may want to talk. I'm going to turn this around just in case she wants to say
something. You can say hi, Brooke. Hi. There we are. We got you on mic.
Right. But, Brooke and I bumped into each other. We had not really had a conversation in 17, 18 years.
Wow.
and had seen her once or twice, kind of out, which is a little weird because we had dated and, we're both married. But long story short, Brooke had gone through a divorce and I had gone through a divorce. And
I prefer to say instead of a divorce, you left one chapter of your life and you entered a new chapter of your life.
That's great. And it's really just been amazing. I mean, Brooke and I had been in a relationship prior to this, and, she was younger and I was younger, and the timing was not great, but the timing was really, really good. And, I think we had both grown a lot. We'd both been through some challenging things, and it was so neat that the good part of the relationship that we had was so easy to pick back up because we were so familiar to one another, and we trusted one another.
But with new reference points.
Yeah, very much so. And, there are parts of both of us that I think are exactly the same, and there are parts of us that are clearly very different because of experience and age and things like that. But what would you say about that?
If this was a camera, we see big eyes.
Yes, yeah. No, but it's been amazing, and Brooke has 2 boys, and I'm going to have the opportunity to be a stepfather to them and support her and their dad and helping try to provide an opportunity for them to grow up and be healthy and happy, and I'm really excited about that.
For those who may know Brooke from a professional world, you were a teacher for a number of years here in Murfreesboro.
Yes, I was. at Smyrna High and 5 years at Siegel High School.
Did you ever go to the ocean and see the seagulls?
That every summer.
Wow.
But Brooke has a baking business now, and so she
You can do a commercial. Where is it? Do you have a shop, or is it done at home, and you do it for?
It's an in-home bakery.
It's an in-home
so it's
bakery.
small business in-home bakery. But tell them what you do.
Oh.
So I do custom cookies and custom cakes, so you can't just show up. I won't have goods for you.
We don't have a storefront. There's no
So
retail.
you call and you can give a phone number for a happy cookie time.
Yeah. Yes.
And so, but I just moved downtown, and Ronnie created me my own commercial kitchen, which is really amazing. So I have a commercial oven, and I was really impressed the other day because I was at the Alley on Main, which is my favorite restaurant in town, and I looked in the back of their kitchen, and they had a Vulcan oven, which is the same one we have in our home, and I thought, I've arrived.
Right.
And then I also got to have a commercial dishwasher, which is my other exciting thing because I can do an entire load of dishes in 90 seconds. And if you are a mother or have ever had to run the dishwasher, hour and 15 minutes later, your dishes are clean. And me, a minute and a half later, they're clean. So.
Wow.
It's been a real challenge for me because from a health standpoint, I typically eat pretty well and I'm pretty disciplined, and to have fresh baked cookies and cakes around the house all the time
I
is
can
a
imagine
challenge.
the aroma
It's a terrible
of baking.
problem.
What the aroma? Can you package that up and just spread it among downtown Murfreesboro with the aroma of baking?
Right. I should create a candle.
Oh.
That's exactly right.
It
but
is. The house
I will have
always
to
smells
have the
good.
two of you back on with the caveat that you bring us
Bring
a sample.
something in advance.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's your most favorite and most popular item?
Well, the most popular item is probably the custom cookies. So if you go to a wedding shower or a baby shower, there's those cute little shaped cookies. They use royal icing. But I prefer the cakes, my cakes. And what's really neat is my favorite cake is red velvet with cream cheese icing, a southern red velvet.
Very typical.
But that's not the most popular ordered, but when Ronnie and I got together and we were talking about what our wedding cake was going to be, his favorite was red velvet as well. And I think
that's what you had.
Pretty special.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Where were you married?
June 1st.
Oh, so you've got an anniversary coming up in another week and a half, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. Well, actually, with giving a commercial for home baking, how many people think of providing cookies or a cake not just for a special event, not just for a wedding or an anniversary or a birthday, but a gift? You know, you're looking for somebody who's been ill at home and now you're going to visit them. Someone who has lost someone and you make a bereavement call afterwards. Somebody who's just a good friend and you don't have to have a special occasion and event. So, you know, you can add a few calories once a time. You can kind of look the other way when the scale is not looking at you. And you can begin with a delicious. But do you have a phone number or a particular place of contact?
She has an Instagram and social media account, so it's Brooks Baking.
That's
on,
easy to remember.
Instagram, and yeah, you can also call me at Pinnacle Bank. I'll be glad to tell you.
Oh, now see, I told you that Pinnacle Bank was not dealing with clients; they're dealing with friends.
Yeah, that's right.
And now they're dealing with hungry people who love cookies.
Yeah, it is a very nice luxury to if you want to do something special, and we've done this several times. With a client and friend that I do business with, if there's an event where there's an opportunity to take cookies or a cake, then I've got kind of an inside track on someone that can do that, and I know the product is going to be amazing. And so it's been really nice to be able to do some special things like that and know that I know how much they're going to enjoy that because I know how much I enjoy them all the time. So
I've got you a marketing brainstorm.
Okay.
Look in your computer at Pinnacle and look at your client base. And take a look when a client has a year anniversary.
Oh, yeah.
With including paying a loan. Let's put it that way.
He's talking about himself. Is what he's talking about.
How did you guess, Ronnie? How in the world did you guess? But every time you have an anniversary of a depositor or an anniversary of a payee, a payer, send them some cookies.
It's a great idea.
You know, and just suddenly say you mean more to us than just a bottom line on a form.
Well, and here's the thing that I love about it is that I can't do it, but she does it and makes it look really easy, which I'm sure it's not. But the idea that if you've got a logo or you've got a company name, that you can get a cookie or a cake that's, decorated specifically to match your marketing is really, really cool. And so that's a very special, I think people appreciate thoughtful things, and that's a very thoughtful thing that I think most people appreciate.
Are you also a good cook?
I think I'm a relative good cook.
She's a good cook.
What's your favorite recipe? I'm going to ask Ronnie. What does Ronnie? No, I can get you in trouble on this.
Hey, we're pretty simple. So we eat pretty healthy, and we meal prep a lot. And like most good red-blooded Americans, we love Mexican food, and so we eat a whole lot of Mexican. And so we don't do exotic, type meals at home. A lot of times, it's something that can fit into what we're trying to do from a overall health standpoint. And if you leave out the taco shells and the chips, you can do Mexican pretty.
Is there anything left?
Yeah.
I was in California 3 weekends ago, and one of my sons took us to a restaurant next door to where they live, and it was a Himalayan restaurant.
Oh, wow.
And my son ordered something like 8 different entrees that we could all taste.
That's amazing.
And all from Nepal and Tibet.
Okay.
Different than Indian and different than Southeast Asian. It was unique in its own.
So spice-wise?
Spice-wise, you needed to drink a lot of water. Yes, very spicy. A lot of rice, a lot of inserts and so forth. Delicious.
That's nice.
Let's talk about, it's been a year since you're off the city council. And I think the question was asked by Brian when we were off air. Do you miss it?
Yeah, and I think what I told you, and it's very true, I do miss some parts of it. You miss the piece where you felt like you had an opportunity to make a difference in certain things, and that you had some ability to contribute in some way based on who you were. And the other thing too, and the people that I serve with will hopefully appreciate this. When you're in it and you're spending as much time as I tried to spend to be prepared and to be competent to contribute, right, to be a knowledgeable resource and to be a thoughtful resource to the people that I serve with in the community, you're very opinionated, and I think good leaders are very opinionated about things because that's why people elected you, just to hopefully make a difference. But what I do have the great perspective of is having gone through in a 4 or 5 year period, really knowing very little about our city government and our city and the way things operated, to having a pretty good understanding of the way things work, whether it be financial things that were, easier for me to acclimate to, or, planning and zoning, or, just any sort of thing, schools. I learned a lot really, really fast in a really short period of time. Point is, after a year off, that stuff leaves you. It's like anything else. If you don't use it, that you sort of lose it. And the city continues to grow. It's kind of like your kids. They keep growing. If you don't invest in them every single day, you're going to miss some of that, right? And what you knew a year ago doesn't apply because they've moved on. And so it gives me a good appreciation to know that, most of the leaders that we have, I think we should be very, very proud of. They work hard, they're well-intentioned, they're good human beings. And while I might disagree fundamentally with some either politics or some decisions that they would make related to any number of things, I do appreciate the fact that they're sacrificing that time, and they could be doing other things because, one of the things we talked about was, it would be so hard for me to give up time that I have with Brooke to go and do that.
And you had 2 new boys.
Yeah.
Both boys.
Yeah, both boys.
Both boys, right.
And, they're all boys. We're fighting or wrestling or shooting. Or
you're going to be out on the sports tour for a while.
Yes, and I love doing that. I'm naturally inclined to do those things anyway, and it'll probably help extend my health span from the standpoint of being able to stay active and do the things that I enjoy doing. But it'd be hard to justify taking time from them to go and do that. And so I've told some people, it sounds terrible, but it's the truth. I'm probably entering a bit of a selfish season of my life where, I've been willing to give some of that time, and I have given a lot of that time. But for the foreseeable future, I'm going to give to my family.
But there's a common denominator in probably of the many people that I have known and met through Murfreesboro and Rutherford County, either as a faculty member out at Montlo or being here at the WGNS or being involved in some of my homeowners associations in this community. Ronnie Martin stands out in one particular way to many, many people. You return telephone calls and emails immediately. You did that as a council member. You responded to people's requests or people's issues or people's problems or people's suggestions. You certainly do that as a banker, that if you have a problem, an issue, a question, you can count on Ronnie returning. People don't do that anymore. And it isn't just the act of courtesy. It's the act of common sense and good business. So you stood out as a member of council as being one that was extraordinarily accessible to the public and responding to that public. We'll be right back with our third and final segment on the Roundtable. This is Bill Krause. See you in a moment or two.
Hi, this is Chip Walters with Exit Realty Bob Lamb and Associates. You might know me as the voice of the Blue Raiders, but I want to be your trusted advisor in real estate. Whether you're buying or selling, it's time to choose Chip. Do you have a growing family and need to upsize? Are you an empty nester now and need to downsize? Are you thinking of selling your current home but just worried you can't find something else? Well, it's time to choose Chip. I'm looking to be your trusted advisor in real estate. I'm Chip Walters with Exit Realty Bob Lamb and Associates.
Hi, this is Bob Cornell, pastor of Covenant Church right here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. The answer that you've been looking for is found in Jesus and what he accomplished at the cross. You see, Jesus changes lives from the inside out. We would love for you to join us at Covenant Church, located at 1124 Brinkley Ave right here in Murfreesboro. We have services Sunday morning at 10:30 a.m. and Tuesdays at 7 p.m. You can learn more about us at our Cornell Ministries YouTube channel. We want you to grow in Christ at Covenant Church.
This is Dr. David Morris with Magnolia Medical Center. Do you suffer from peripheral neuropathy in your hands or feet, burning pain, balance problems, and decreased quality of life? Magnolia Medical Center can help.
Magnolia Medical Center in Murfreesboro. Online at magnoliamedicalcenters.com.
Here at Bud's Tire, we make buying Michelin tires simpler. I'm Allison Mitchell with Bud's Tire Pros. We offer a straightforward approach to service, including nationwide warranties with every purchase. Stop in today to see our full lineup of Michelin and BF Goodrich tires. For whatever you drive, Michelin and BF Goodrich have a tire to fit any need. Bud's Tire Pros, hassle-free, guaranteed. We're located on East Main Street, exactly 3 miles from the town square, 1 mile past Rutherford Boulevard. Visit us online at budstirepros.tn.com.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZzzQuil.
ZzzQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZzzQuil nights. Explore our products at ZzzQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
When a cold comes on strong, knock it out with Vicks DayQuil Severe for max strength daytime relief. Just 1 dose of Vicks DayQuil Severe starts to relieve 9 of your worst cold and flu symptoms to help take you from 9 to none. Power through your day with Vicks DayQuil Severe, the daytime non-drowsy, coughing, aching, fever, sore throat, 9 to none medicine. Use as directed.
Folks, I hope you listen in every Sunday night at 8 o'clock to the Edwin Lee Raymer Show. We'll talk about some local politics, national politics, all types of topics, all types of guests. That's 8 o'clock Sunday night, Edwin Lee Raymer Show. Talk to you then.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at WGNSradio.com.
This is Bill Krause one more time on the Roundtable on a wonderful August Thursday morning opportunity. And we are having, as usual, a delightful visit with Ronnie Martin. Many of you know Ronnie through his current role at Pinnacle Bank. Many of you know Ronnie through his role on the City Council of Murfreesboro. I've got to have you do a shout out, though. You were very complimentary, which I totally appreciate, to your colleagues on the City Council. How about the staff? Wonderful, wonderful staff.
Yeah, so here's one of the things that gets really challenging about being a council member is you don't really hire the staff. You hire a city manager and a couple of other key roles, attorney and those types of things. And so the city manager's job is to manage the staff. And you as a former city manager know this. There are times, just like with the people that you serve with on the council, where council members may not be aligned on something. There are times where the city manager and council members are not aligned on things. And so, what I will say is I think Murfreesboro's got some amazing people that work there. I met a lot of them. And from the outside in, especially with my personality, you might say, well, Ronnie stays in conflict with a lot of these people. And the truth is, I really did not. But I felt like my responsibility was to challenge them on things because I felt like that was the true role of being a council member. But when you step away from having that responsibility, what I appreciate very much is we have in Murfreesboro at the highest levels and all throughout our staff, we've got some of the most competent people that you could possibly ask for. And while there may be, political difference, personality differences aside, good leaders have to work through those things. And I can tell you that we have an extremely talented, bright group of people leading the city, making decisions day in and day out. And some of that, I think you need some different opinions. You need some grinding of the gears, so to speak, to make sure that we're being thoughtful about what we're doing, that we're not just, doing whatever the city manager says. But in many cases, there's a reason that person is in that role because they know more than the average person on the city council would know. And so very impressed, very thankful to have had the opportunity to meet so many of those people that take care of Murfreesboro day in and day out. And I think we've got a lot to be proud of.
I used to always use the analogy of the role of a city manager, and I like to use the analogy to a football team. You have a city manager who's the center, and you have the line who's the staff, and you have a backfield that executes the play. It's number one, the center has to do a good centering the ball back to the quarterback. If he fumbles, the best quarterback in the world is going to lose yardage.
Right.
So it's got to be a good hike of the ball. And then the line is to provide enough time and opportunity to keep the other team away so that the backfield can make decisions and implement decisions and carry them out with all the time in the world to succeed. And it works very, very well. I always loved the story that I remember a mayor telling me once when I first started as city manager in that particular city. He said, I, as the mayor, sign all the letters of positive compliments to our citizens. You, as a city manager, write all the nasty bad letters. And I thought, well, I'll have to learn how to write a nasty letter effectively. But it's a great relationship. And Murfreesboro can be very, very proud. We have forthcoming on the round table within the next 2 months, the police chief and also the brand new fire chief, no longer interim, now as the new fire chief of Murfreesboro. And the men and women, not only the first responders, but those in the public works and those in park and recreation, those who operate from city clerk's office through all the divisions and departments. They're very dedicated, very passionate, and they have a love for this community as you have a love for this community. Do you ever see politics in the future in a new chapter of life?
So Brooke and I had a lot of conversation about this as we were dating and before we got married. And I think she, because it's her nature, and part of it's because she doesn't really know what she's telling me that I could do, is that she would be supportive of me doing that. And so we had that conversation early on, and I think that's because of her affection towards me and wanting me to have an opportunity to do things that I want to do. And that's what you want in a partner, someone to encourage you and to be supportive of that. But frankly, it would be, especially combined with what I'd like to do professionally and where my focus is there, it would be extremely difficult for me to give up the time that would necessitate me being good at that job from her and from the boys to justify doing that. And that doesn't mean forever, right? But especially now in the season that we're in, it would be really, really hard for me to do that.
You're a young man with many years to go, many mountains to climb, and many valleys to go through. And yet, you bring to the banking industry, you bring to your new marriage and your new family a spark of optimism and a spark of hope and a dream of the future. In the years that I've known you, and initially meeting you when you were on the council and I was with the Homeless Coalition, I was very impressed with the fact that you're very much of a futurist. You look at history, you look at the past, and one item you mentioned in your discussion as a council member that you no longer have is information. Do you think the lack of information or the manipulation of information or the wrong information that is being conveyed in the political world today is one of the causes of our dissension?
Man, I think I couldn't agree with that more. I think, and look, I don't talk about this a lot because my focus is elsewhere.
Correct.
But I do think that you got to be so careful with what you pick up and run with from a standpoint of forming opinions and making decisions and making comments, about them, because people who are well-intentioned could find themselves in a really unfortunate place by saying, I read this or I heard this. And I think, part of this, Dr. Krause, is we're so busy and there's so much time and there's so much pressure to make fast decisions, and Brooke and I were talking about this last night. We were talking about some things in our family and our lives and some things in the future. And, I made the comment and she was supportive and agreed. I was like, let's settle into this season and make sure we're comfortable. We know what we think we know about, how our life's going to be and how that's going to look before we start changing anything else. But in general, it's an instantaneous sort of gratification society, and we do that. We make a lot of decisions based on minimal information. And look, there are times where I think you have to do that, but most of the time you don't. And so, I would just encourage people, and I try to do this as well. Everything I read or everything that I watch, I try to dig a little deeper and find multiple sources about that. And I think it's so easy, even for the things that you trust the most, and whatever outlet that is, whatever form of media that is, you can't assume that people are being as thoughtful as I think you want to be before you start making decisions, positive or negative, especially when you start talking about influencing other people. You got to be so careful about that because, Brooke has the ability to influence me because of our relationship. I have the ability to influence her. You want that. Same thing with our children. But if you're not careful and really, really thoughtful about that information, you can get way away from the center without really even understanding how you got away from the center.
I will always tell students, whether they're writing on an essay or they're talking in class, especially in political science, always start out your sentence. From what I've read, or from what I've heard, or from what I understand, this is how I call it. But do not, I repeat, do not share information that it is total fact without any question. And I think that's where we stand now. I think we stand in the point that people will quote data, quote statistics as it's absolute. There is no absolute information.
I agree. And I think the other piece of that, and I think this is hard, it's super easy for me, but I don't think it's easy for everyone. Be willing, be thoughtful what I say here. Have the courage to say, I did the best I could with what I had. And now I'm better and I know more, I'm more informed, or I have a better understanding. And so let me modify this a little bit. That's, to go back to politics, I think that's one of the things that politicians have a really hard time doing. They can't say, well, I just messed up.
I'm sorry. You very seldom held the two words. I'm sorry. I blew it.
Well, here's the thing that we all know. They're all messing up, just like we're messing up every single day. Don't act like you're not. So just call it like it is. And I think people appreciate that. I have made tons of mistakes. But most of them were not intentional. Most of them, hopefully, you learn from. And there's a great peace and comfort by saying, I didn't know, I can do better, I want to do better. And I think most people will accept that. It's those people that would say, I've never done, or I would never, and do this and that. I'm like, come on, man. I mean, we know better. So
exactly. And and without going into detail, I can remember one time somebody did the application of a loan payment to the wrong account. And there was Ronnie. It wasn't his doing. It was somebody inputting the computer downtown with Pinnacle. And I mean, I always remembered that Ronnie was immediate to email and call and say, I think we made a mistake. I'm sorry. We've corrected it.
Yes.
And how many times do people not do that today? And not just from the political world. And I mean, when somebody says, I'm sorry, say it like you mean it, rather than a little kid when you caught the hand in the cookie jar. Good cookie jar. Oh, one more time. Give the access to Brook Bakery.
Yes, you can find me on Instagram or Facebook at Brooks Bakings.
No dots in between, just Brooks Baking?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. And then you will get back to them. And do you have a website that shows some of the things you have?
Just the social media.
Great. Do you do chocolate chip?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, do you do M&M chips?
Yes.
Here we go. When are we coming back?
An M&M cookie for Brian. I'll just say for Brian, and for Scott, and for Bart.
Right.
We'll make very happy campers at WGNS. We've thoroughly been enjoying this visit with Ronnie Martin. I think we're enjoying it so much that the management, again, wants us to continue on.
They know we can handle it. I'm going to get
They
behind it.
know we can certainly handle it.
Yeah.
What do you see in the next year of any significant change? You mentioned earlier that you see the interest rates and you see the economics staying about the same in 2024. Anything can happen in an election year, and the power of the federal government to do certain policies, implement certain programs, provide funding for certain activity for votes or for profile. We see a lot of activity on the any type of the election cycle. Do you see this coming up in 2024?
Yeah, I think people's perception of those things is significant because, I'm a big believer that consumer confidence trumps all things. If people feel confident and good, it changes things in the economy. If they feel not great, it changes things in the economy. And so, I think everything starts with consumer confidence, which is impacted by lots of things. But, I think it's kind of an indirect answer to your question. I think the thing that I would encourage people to do in the environment that we're in, and it goes back to an old adage, whether you're personal finance or, it's a business that you're operating, cash is very much king, and cash will always be king. I think, given the duration of this slower economic time that we're in, I think maintaining a certain amount of liquidity is critically important. I think making wise decisions about, CapEx expenditures if you're in a business or consumer spending is really important. And, I'm not trying to do my little part to contribute to the difficulty, but I think right now in the season of uncertainty, spending less is a good thing, and preserving your cash is probably pretty wise.
Excellent advice. And I always say when I teach economics, it should be in the School of Psychology, not the School of Social Science, because it's strictly a world of psychology.
So true.
We've been visiting this morning with Ronnie Martin, retired member of the City Council of Murfreesboro, certainly a high-profile voice of Pinnacle Bank, Pinnacle Financial Partners, I should say, here in beautiful Murfreesboro. Recent groom, 3 months forthcoming, with a lovely wife, Brooke, who is a master baker with the best cookies in town that she's going to bring to Brian in the near future. The M&Ms, I put a request in. The M&M cookies. We hope to see you here very soon. Thank you for joining us, and wonderful luck, enjoyment, and love in this marriage ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.